This morning, peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians are hanging by a thread. Secretary of State John Kerry called off an emergency visit to the Middle East. Margaret Brennan is traveling with Secretary Kerry. She's in Brussels, Belgium. Margaret, good morning.
Good morning. Secretary Kerry said it's premature to say this peace process is over, but the Obama administration's goal of forging a deal between Israelis and Palestinians is now in crisis. Nearly 9 months of shuttle diplomacy appeared on the verge of failure as a U.S.-crafted plan to extend the process fell apart. On Mideast Peace, where are we in this process?
It is completely premature tonight to draw any kind of judgment, certainly any final judgment, about today's events and where things are.
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas threw the talks into question by signing nearly a dozen treaties, some affiliated with the United Nations. He had previously promised not to use the UN to help Palestine achieve statehood. Yet Abbas said he had no choice after the Israelis broke their promise to release a fourth batch of Palestinian prisoners at the end of March. The plan that Secretary Kerry considered bringing to the region today included a sweetener for Prime Minister Netanyahu, the release of Israeli spy Jonathan Pollard from a North Carolina prison.
Hi, how are you doing?
He has served 29 years of a life sentence for selling classified U.S. naval intelligence to an Israeli agent. In exchange, the Israelis would release more Palestinian prisoners and slow settlement construction in the West Bank. Yet Israel announced a new building project on Tuesday. Both sides had promised Kerry that they'd follow through with his proposals when the secretary personally launched the talks last year.
This is not mission impossible. This can happen.
Today, Secretary Kerry has been working the phones here in Brussels, speaking to Mideast negotiators, trying to revive the process. Kerry at least remains committed, but with 9 months and 12 visits to the region, he does not appear close to a deal.
Margaret, thank you.
Good morning. Welcome back. 24 minutes past the hour. This morning, it appears the Middle East peace process is on the verge of falling apart once again. Secretary of State John Kerry has now canceled his planned trip back to the region today after Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas defied the U.S. and Israel and took steps toward seeking further international recognition for a Palestinian state. Despite Kerry's latest overtures toward both sides, including offering to release a spy, Jonathan Pollard, just to get the talks moving again. Ben Wiedemann is live in Jerusalem with the latest. Ben, why did Kerry cancel this trip?
Well, we understand, Christine, that it really has a lot to do with frustration over the entire process. I think the secretary was taken a bit by surprise by this announcement that the Palestinian Authority would apply for membership in 15 international organizations, and also by the leaks that were coming out of here yesterday morning that a deal was in the works. I think that you have to keep in mind that the secretary, 70 years old, is getting exhausted from a process that has gone on now for 9 months and yielded very little. Now, originally last summer, he set a deadline, a 9-month period for during which this framework agreement was supposed to be worked out. That deadline is on the 29th of April, and you won't find too many people here, either on the Palestinian side or the Israeli side, who will tell you that that deadline is likely to be met.
And the Jonathan Pollard wrinkle, so interesting. For 27 years, this has been a point of contention between the U.S. and Israel, and now seemingly at play in the peace talks.
Yes, because this is a bargaining chip that the Americans have to lure the Israelis into making more concessions. But there's a lot of resistance within the U.S. intelligence community, but also here in Israel, there's a feeling that they don't want Pollard to be sort of a bargaining chip that would result in the release of prisoners, Palestinian prisoners that many Israelis say have blood on their hands. In fact, yesterday we spoke to the Israeli Deputy Defense Minister, who says he will resign if this deal goes ahead, if Pollard is released in exchange for the release of Palestinian prisoners.
Exhausting and yielding very little progress. That is the bottom line on the talks at this point. Ben Wiedemann, thank you so much, Ben.